What's up, everyone? Hope you're doing great and your system's been running smooth because we've got a pretty meaty AMD driver update to talk through. And this one actually has a lot going on under the hood. Right away, one of the biggest shifts with this release is AMD leaning harder into AI-related tooling. During installation, there's now an optional AI bundle you can choose to install, and this isn't just some random checkbox filler. What AMD is trying to do here is simplify access to local AI workloads on Radeon hardware, especially for people experimenting with machine learning, image generation, or AI-assisted productivity tasks. You're not forced into it, which is good, but the fact that it's baked directly into the driver installer tells you AMD is serious about positioning Radeon GPUs and APUs as more than just gaming hardware going forward. Even if you don't touch AI tools today, this is clearly groundwork for where their ecosystem is heading. On the hardware side, this update expands official support for the new Ryzen AI 400 series mobile processors. If you're running one of these newer laptops, this driver is basically a must-have, since it tightens compatibility between the integrated Radeon graphics and the dedicated AI hardware inside those chips. Better optimization here usually means smoother power management, fewer random glitches, and more consistent performance across creative apps and games. For laptop users especially, driver-level improvements like this often translate into better stability over long sessions rather than raw FPS gains, and that's something you really notice after a few weeks of use. For gamers, AMD rolled in support and optimizations for a couple of newer titles. Even if you're not actively playing them, this still matters because it shows how AMD is continuing to tune shader compilation, asset streaming, and engine-level behavior for modern game engines. These optimizations don't just benefit one title in isolation either. They tend to spill over into other games built on similar tech, which is why driver updates like this can sometimes quietly improve performance or smoothness in games you already own. Where this release really earns its keep, though, is in the fixes. AMD tackled a long list of visual bugs and stability problems that were affecting a wide range of GPUs. One big one was shadow rendering issues in certain Call of Duty titles on RX 5000 and 6000 series cards, which could completely break immersion during gameplay. That's now been resolved, and if you were one of the people tweaking settings endlessly trying to fix it yourself, this update should finally put that problem to rest. There were also some nasty texture corruption issues in Enshrouded, particularly around specific in-game locations, mostly affecting RX 7000 and newer cards. Problems like that are especially frustrating because they can look like failing hardware at first glance, so seeing AMD address them directly is reassuring. Diablo players will also appreciate a fix that stopped the game from launching properly if your Windows username used non-English characters, which is one of those bugs that sounds small, but completely blocks access for affected users. Flight sim fans weren't forgotten either. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 had lighting problems during nighttime flights on newer Radeon cards, which is kind of a big deal in a game that lives and dies by realism. That issue has been corrected, restoring proper lighting behavior so night flights actually look the way they're supposed to. For creators and developers, there's a particularly important fix involving Unreal Engine 5.6. If you were using Lumen with hardware ray tracing enabled, there was a chance the editor could crash outright on a wide range of Radeon GPUs. That's been fixed, and for anyone working in Unreal, that alone makes this update worth installing. There were also fixes for Chromium and Electron-based apps that could show visual corruption, which affects things like browsers, launchers, and productivity tools people use every single day. Vulkan developers get a small but meaningful improvement too, with smoother window resizing behavior tied to VK acquired next image, especially on RX 7000 and newer cards. It's not flashy, but it's the kind of quality of life improvement that makes development less frustrating. Of course, no driver update is perfect, and there are still a few known issues. Some players may experience crashes or timeouts in Cyberpunk 2077 when using path tracing, and AMD has acknowledged that they're actively working with the game's developers on that. Battlefield 6 also has a couple of lingering issues on some certain systems, including crashes on specific Ryzen AI setups and visual glitches when using recording features. Roblox players on newer Radeon cards might still see occasional crashes when switching between media-heavy scenarios.